Are your items just sitting on Vinted and they are not attracting any views, any favorites, and definitely they are not selling? I do have 7 pointers to give you that would help you with your Vinted listing if you've got loads of stuff or little things to sell as well. If you're just starting off on Vinted or you've been doing it for a while, you probably would be able to use these pointers because these are really good ones and maybe things that you haven't even thought of. Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Marshmallow Mommy and I've been taking you on a Vinted journey with me and helping you with your Vinted listings as a beginner, or as I said, if you've been doing it for a while. I've got quite a few videos up already. Please make sure that you check them out. One of them will be linked after this one. The way you list your Vinted items is so it's nice and simple. But let's get back onto the videos. Number 1 out of the 7 is probably one of the most important one, which is photos. You may think that photos are not that important, but they are. And to be honest, you don't have to be a photographer. You can just use your smartphone. That's what I tend to do as well. And it's so nice and simple and easy. You don't have to have any kind of fancy equipment. What you need is really just natural lighting. Natural lighting is the best. But if you can't, you're struggling to find natural lighting, just like myself in the UK, then what I tend to do, I put on all the lights in the room, get some extra lighting in. But the important thing is to make sure that you don't get shadows in your photos, and also make sure that the color of the item is exactly what it is, because obviously if you artificial lighting, that would affect the colors. Let's say if it's a blue top, it may look a little bit greenish. It is important, try to use natural lights. You know, take photos close to the window when it's nice and bright and you get the maximum natural sunlight. The background is important. Try to keep it nice and plain, because if you think about it, if you got something flowery in the background, that would attract the eye straight away. Just stick to something, even if you have a white bed sheet, anything plain and nice and clean, that would do. The way to take the photos, there are different ways. There is no right and wrong way, if you like, because some people use mannequins. If you want, you can invest into mannequins. That's what I wanted to do. But to be honest, what I do, I just lay it flat. But there are certain items, for example jewelry. I think if you got something that you can hang the jewelry up, display it properly, would be a good idea. But again, you don't have to spend a fortune. You can just again use the same thing with jewelry, just a nice plain backing. And with clothes, lay them flat or put them on a mannequin. Both of them will work, but obviously it's important that the clothes are not all crinkled up. They are nice, they are in a good, nice, presentable condition. And also with shoes, what I like to do, I show loads of different angles and make sure that you have a picture of the sole on the side, from the inside of the shoes, and from every angle. Vinted actually will allow you to have 20 photos, which I think is very good, because you can go a little bit mad with the photos. But again, you don't have to be an expert. It's enough if you take the photo and you crop it, because you can actually turn it around when you upload it to Vinted. Again, careful with filters. I wouldn't be using any filters, because again, it can kind of change the dynamic of the color, and the color would be different from the actual color of the item. And what's again important is do not have any clutter in the background. Try to keep it as professional as you can, because seriously, I've seen photos when people have their slippers drawn in the picture, or Iceland bag, or they had their pets in it. You know, you're listing something, try to be professional. And even though pets are cute, but they don't really need to be in the picture. That's my opinion anyway. Try to keep it nice and professional. And the way to look at it, if you don't like the picture that you take, what are the chances that, you know, the buyer would be interested in clicking onto your photo? Again, number 1 is photo. Number 2 is pricing. Pricing is very important. I think that's when a lot of people go a little bit wrong, because that's what I used to do when I first started off. That you would think that jumper that you bought for £45, you can sell it on £40. You can sell it for £40. Not on Vinted. because I think Vinted is pretty good when it comes to giving guidance on how much you should be charging. Do not charge too little and do not charge too much, especially if a really nice quality jumper you downprice it, that people might ask you why is it so cheap, because it's not supposed to be that cheap. If you know what I mean, they may think it's not genuine. If it's too expensive, they may look at it the way I look at it when I look at the pricing. How much is it in the shop? Because by the time I add up the fees and the postage, might be actually the same price if I went to the shop. It's important to bear it in mind. Use Vinted as a guidance, because as I said, when you upload it, it will tell you how much other people are selling it for, which I think it's really good to bear it in mind. It keeps you grounded a little bit, because as I said, it's very easy to kind of think, oh, I spent a fortune, I think people should be getting it for a little bit less, because people won't be paying that much. Definitely not on Vinted. Again, pricing is important, because this is number 2. I keep rumbling now, but I'm looking down because I've got some notes. I've got some notes here. So what else? Yes, number 3, I've got postage settings. I covered this in my previous video. As you know, I'm an impulse girl. I did tell you why I do it, why I choose impulse, but to be honest, do not follow my steps in this case, because I work every day. I have a child, life is busy, I've got different projects and side hustles on the side, so I don't really have time to go to the post office, to go to every order and all that. I covered it and I told you why I'm doing it. But if you're starting or just starting off, or you've got a lot of time on your hand, make sure that when you go into postage setting, make sure that you will enable as many postage options as you can, because obviously that will widen the bias, if you like, because there will be some people who won't be able to get to the impulse locker, and there will be some people who won't be able to get to let's say every. So more options you have open then or enabled, the better chance that you will end up selling a lot more clothes, if it makes sense, because I discussed it before why I'm doing it and why people, to be honest, you just need to figure it out what is the most convenient for you. But if you want to sell, if you want to maximize everything the way you know that you want to sell the most, then definitely postage setting, make sure that you have as many as possible. Number 3 on my list was postage. Number 4 on my list is not being active enough. Vinted really kind of rewards people who list on a regular basis, or even if you can't list, let's say every day, because it's almost possible if you've got a job you can't maybe physically list every day, then just log in. Or if somebody asks you a question, try to answer as soon as possible. That's again a very good thing to get into. What I normally do, I log in every day, I post, and I list. When I list, I try not to list bulk list. I remember when I first started decluttering, I listed loads of stuff, and then I learned about how the algorithm and how Vinted works. The more frequently you post, let's say if you post, rather than posting 30 items in like a day, try to spread it out to, let's say, 2 items one day, 1 item the following day, to spread it out. Your listings will be kind of on the top of the listings, and also Vinted will push your items a little bit more, because they see that obviously you're active. And as I said, the way I do it, and I'm so pleased because I've got quite a lot of reviews, and I'm a full 5-star Vinted user. All my customers were very, very happy with the service, because I always reply back to them straight away when I post something, then or when they purchase something, then straight away I drop them a message to say thanks for your purchase. I will try to wrap the item up today and pop it to send it off to you tomorrow, and I keep you posted. For some reason I can't post it. When I post it, what I do with the in-post, I take a picture of the code and I send it to them straight away to say, just to let you know, items been posted. And just keep the buyers in the loop. I think it's very, very important, because I think it's just nice habit to get into it, and I think it's a good, nice customer service experience for the buyers. That was number 4, being well active. And number 5 is about descriptions. When you list an item, make sure that you don't just put down a lovely black jumper, because the more information you put in the description, the better it is. I always put down the make, the if it's new or if it's good condition, used condition, and also if there are any flaws as well with the item. And also you can search for words as well. For example, certain things like vintage, if you put it in the description if something is vintage, or as I said, I always put down, for example, if it's Zara or Next or Marks and Spencer's. The more you put in the description, the better the chance that the item will pop up. I would put down the brand, size, condition, any flaws, and obviously keyword search, because that kind of helps the algorithm again with your listing. Number 6, we are getting there now. Number 6 is you're not building trust. This is important because I remember when I first started selling and buying things, I started with buying stuff for my daughter, and I bought this item from somebody who didn't have any reviews. And I never forget, it was a wrap jacket, and I was so excited that you managed to get this wrap jacket for £35, and the person didn't have any reviews, but I thought I would give them the benefit of the doubt, and obviously it was a scam. Good job that if you don't receive the item, then you can raise an issue with Vinted, so you're protected. But I think it's important to build trust with the buyers, because I tend to look at the reviews, and I tend to look at the negative reviews and the positive one as well before I buy an item. Buyers want to feel confidence. So as I said with the last video that I put up, please go and check that one out. I will actually link that one after this video as well. When I'm recording this, it's not actually hasn't been published, but it's coming, so probably will be done by the time this one will go up, because I explained to you how to set up your profile setting. I think it's very important. I got my photo on mine, but if you don't want to use your photo, just use an avatar. Write a little bit about yourself, make it a little bit more personal, rather than just not having a photo or not having any information about yourself, because obviously it's buying online, and I think it does help with building trust. Again, things that would help is clear profile photo, good reviews, on a description, even small things like being polite in messages, as I mentioned it, or keep the buyers in the loop. And the last one is, it just needs some time. Sometimes it just needs time, which means we could be doing all these things right, but it might be a season when people are, let's say, away on holiday, they're not buying that much, or after Christmas when a lot of people we are all skimmed. But then again, there are certain things that would maybe be sitting on Vinted, and then someone comes along like 3 months later and wants to buy it. So it's very much like an up and down with Vinted. But yeah, it just sometimes just things will take longer to sell. I think even if you've been doing Vinted for a very, very long time, you probably experienced that there were really lows and there were up and downs and there were highs. It's just one of those things. Please let me know in the comment if you've been doing Vinted for a while, and do you see a pattern when you tend to sell a lot more? In my case, it's really up and down. I can't really predict it, because the other week somebody wanted to buy a jacket that I listed about 3 months ago. Just one of those things. That was actually the last pointer, that sometimes even though we do everything in our power to follow good pictures, do the setting, pricing is right, good customer service, and things are still not selling because this is just not the right time. Just it costs nothing to have it listed. That's the way I look at it. And I got all the vintage stuff in one pile, nicely put away. So if somebody wants to buy an item that I listed months ago, I can just grab it and post it. And here we go. If your vintage items are selling, do not panic. Hopefully these pointers will help you. As I said, just to quickly summarize it, photos, make sure nice professional. Postage setting, make sure you enable as many as you can. Pricing, not too high and not too low. And also trust, be important for us to build trust, so the buyers will be purchasing items from us because you got good reviews and profile is all done. And what else? I just need to get back to it. I'm really sorry. It's been a very long day. It's been a very long week as well at work, and I just can't remember everything. Covered photos, pricing, postage setting, and obviously not being active enough. Make sure, even if it means just logging in once a day, so Vinted knows that we are still around. And then the description is too basic, and building trust, and sometimes it just needs some time. So hopefully you found these pointers good. Please make sure you do come back for some more vintage stuff. I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Have a good one, everybody. Take care. Goodbye for now.
Okay, let's go.